Hello everyone, welcome to part 13 of my Server 2025 training series. Today we're going to be covering how to install and use Windows Admin Center. This is going to be a little bit of a quick lesson, but let's get into what is Windows Admin Center. So it's really just a locally deployed web-based management tool. It allows you to manage your servers, clusters, and various Windows clients. It's Microsoft's attempt at a more modern server manager. Put that in quotations because it's very good in a lot of ways, but it's also buggy with a lot of things, and we'll get into that a little later also. Since its release in 2018, it has had a steady stream of updates and bug fixes, but I promise you're going to get weird behavior out of it. Some things it does very well, and some things it does not do very well, which seems to be the case with a lot of management tools. So in our lab, we're going to install Windows Admin Center on our GT util server, since that's going to be our catch-all for a lot of various services. We're going to access Windows Admin Center and add some servers. I'm going to go over a quick overview of some things that you can do inside of it. Over in our lab environment, let's go ahead and connect to our GT util server. We're going to open up Edge and go to Google, and we're going to type in download Windows Admin Center. And we're going to want to pick the evaluation center. We don't want to click this one. If you do, it's going to require you to enter in some of your information. So let's go ahead and download. And it looks like I already have a pre-downloaded copy from earlier. So we're just going to run that one. And we're going to say next, and next again. With this being a relatively fresh copy of Server 2025, we shouldn't run into any issues during this installation process. We're going to do Express Setup. We're going to pick Generate a Self-Signed Certificate. If we use a pre-installed certificate, that would be if we were providing one. And you can see it would need to be installed in our local machine store there. But since we're not doing that, we're just going to generate our self-signed certificate. We're going to say we want to install updates automatically. And we're going to say required diagnostic data is fine. So it's going to tell us what ports it's going to use. Oh, that's totally fine. We're going to click install now. And as soon as this is done, we'll pick back up. We are back. That install takes around 5 minutes or so to totally finish. But you'll see we actually have a checkbox that allows us to start Windows Admin Center. We're going to go ahead and click finish. And it should automatically open in our browser for us in just a moment. Perfect, there we go. Since this is a self-signed certificate, we're going to click advanced and continue. And once we're at the sign-on screen, we will have to do our domain prefix. So in this case, it's just gtech. And we're going to enter in password. So you can sign in with anyone that has domain admin privileges. And now you can see it tells us it successfully installed 2410. It's going to give us a little bit of new information with this release. I think it's only been out since maybe December 3rd or December 4th. So kind of exciting. There may be some new stuff in here. So let's go ahead and see what we have. So we have our gateway server here. But what we're going to do is we're going to add our additional servers. So we're going to add in GTDC1. Let it do a quick search. And we'll do, actually let's do the full ad.greentech.org. Just to allow it to load, hopefully a bit quicker. It's also, there's a lot of extensions that are going to automatically update. If you see those pop up, you can just click OK or Next, whatever happens to pop up for you. Alright, so go ahead and search for our server. It is found. We're going to click Add. Perfect. So there's our server. We're going to add some additional servers. We're going to say Add. We're going to search Active Directory, and we're just going to say GTDC2, just to show you that this works as well. And we can click Yes, and Add. All right, perfect. So now what can we do with Windows Admin Center? There's a couple different things, but really the only time you'll be using it is whenever you have to manually click a server here. This is going to bring up quite a few things for you. So because Microsoft has been pushing a lot of cloud services, you're going to see all of the Azure stuff at the top. So Azure Backup, File Sync, Hybrid Center, Kubernetes, and Monitor. But What's pretty handy is it gives you on the overview page uh, pretty much all the information that you need to see from a performance standpoint. So you can see your CPU if you want to monitor any of that. You can see your Ethernet connection, so how much traffic's being sent over the wire currently. Also gives you a couple of different information in terms of like how much RAM is there, how much disk space you have, etc. But if we go into settings here, you can see we can monitor file shares, we can set some environment variables, we can change remote desktop settings. So with SMB, it's kind of handy where they actually give you options for SMB1 if you want to see if anything's using it. Like if you have an older file server that's using SMB1, you can actually just turn on audit SMB connections here. Same thing with SMB signing, SMB3 encryption, etc. But there's quite a bit of handy things in here. It's definitely worth checking out, but the most common thing that I've used Windows Admin Center for is there's this PowerShell window, so you can actually just remote directly into this server here. It's a little quicker than remoting in via PowerShell on our RSAT box, which is kind of nice. But you also have your processes, gives you a handy little overview, tells you what's going on. You can also end processes, you can find handles. Same thing with registry, you can browse the registry from here, make changes, which is kind of handy. Honestly, like the original regedit a little more. Same thing with your remote desktop, you can check out the settings here. But with it being mainly a modern replacement for Server Manager, the Roles and Features tab here, this is actually how we can install new services. So if we look here, here's all of the roles. It tells you what's currently installed. One thing I kind of don't like is you have to go through and select these or this drop down. I wish you could just click install and individually pick one. It's a little cluttered, but yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff in here. Really, you just have to poke around and have a use case for what you're going to use in your environment. Like I said, I've typically used the PowerShell the most. The updates is kind of nice also. You can pop in, check for updates, and kind of do that in an easy way. But also, if you had a domain joined hypervisor, you could add it in here and get some more information on it. But what's cool, let me show you. If we go back here and add, we're going to add a server, and for server name, we're just going to do 192.168.99.254. We're going to use another account for this connection because our hypervisor is not domain joined. We're going to say add. We're going to see if it picks it up here. So beautiful, it found it. And we're going to just click add. And we can also manage our host server even though it's not on the domain. It's going to remember those credentials. So if we go to our host, we can pop over here to our virtual machines. And that's some generic SQL error. I don't really care since we're not doing anything with SQL. And also, I can tell you, if you see a preview here, that may mean that you're going to have some strange issues out of it at a later date. But we can see all of my VMs currently running. Gives us a nice little inventory of all the VMs and a little bit of miscellaneous information. We can look at our virtual hard disk, and you can actually expand VHDs from here. And looks like we have another PowerShell authentication error message. So error loading the virtual disk of GTDC1, unable to configure either correct SSP or local PowerShell options. Yeah, so that's very odd. The credentials are not valid. Well, we just entered them, so that's pretty interesting. But like I was saying earlier, it's a very nice platform, but a lot of things seem half-baked because you're going to have a lot of error messages that come up. And even at my previous employer, we tried to manage everything through Windows Admin Center, and it just wasn't realistic to do. Because, I mean, you are going to run into various issues with it, random glitches. At one point, Microsoft may have it to where it's a totally finished product, but for what it's worth right now, it's definitely worth checking out. Again, there's plenty of stuff in here that you can poke around and use. And if something doesn't work, there's a different way to manage something else. There's always a different management tool or management method to try and accomplish what you want to do. But that's pretty much it. Just a general overview of some things you can do, how to install Windows Admin Center, and our key takeaways for this lesson. Basically going to be Windows Admin Center is Microsoft's modern server management solution. It is web-based and has a user-friendly installation process. It's still considered to be very new despite being released over 6 years ago. You are definitely going to experience issues with certain features, but it's generally considered fairly stable. But again, you can see even from us using it, you're going to have random error messages that pop up. So play around with it, get used to it, and see how it works for you. And I hope you found this video entertaining, and I hope it was beneficial, and I hope that you catch me in my later videos.